everybody. We're good to go? Well, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to Twitch and Beyond Into the Cosmos with NASA. I am DataDave, your moderator and host for today, and we have some amazing, amazing panelists with us, starting with, and I'll let them introduce themselves, Moohoodles.
Hey, I'm Moohoodles. I have been streaming science communication on Twitch for over a decade. I like to talk about space and astrobiology, a whole bunch of current news, sometimes deep dives. I also talk about sharks and programming and play games from retro to newer stuff. I hope to uplift women in STEM, increase scientific literacy, and just nerd out, make people laugh, and have a good time.
Thank you so much. Followed by, we'll just go in order this way, Brittany Brown.
Hi, everyone. My name's Brittany Brown. I am here from Washington, D.C. at NASA headquarters, where I am the Director of Digital Communications. Essentially, my everyday job is to make sure that we're using our digital platforms, including our website, our social media, video productions, podcasts, and photography, to share all of NASA's discoveries and news.
Woo! Thank you so much. Then, Jamie Adkins.
Hi, I'm Jamie Adkins. I'm a social media manager at NASA, so I'm basically in charge of putting our everything that Brittany mentioned on our social media channels, and I'm also a big Twitch nerd.
Thank you so much. Then AstroCanuck.
We got our own. We're good. My name is Tom. I stream as AstroCanuck. I do live astrophotography from my backyard in Southern Ontario, and show people pictures of outer space, as well as we do some space Lego whenever we got some clouds, because clouds are really terrible and I don't like the clouds.
And last but not least, Nerduino.
Hey everybody, I'm Nerduino. So I have a PhD in astronomy from the University of Illinois. There's only a line out there. And I worked at NASA for about 10 years. I'm not affiliated anymore, but I worked at the Jet Propulsion Lab in California. Now I stream on Twitch, and I create content on YouTube and TikTok, streaming space, astronomy, and variety streaming.
Thank you so much. First round of applause for them as well. So let's talk about it. There's space content on Twitch. Like, can you tell me a little bit more about what that looks like in a sense? And what's your favorite thing about space? Let me add that on there too.
Oh gosh, I just love the vastness and mystery of space. There is so much out there waiting to be discovered, and I think that's so fascinating. And it just it's like my curiosity can never be quenched. It's so cool.
I love space, and my favorite thing about space is because it's everywhere and not just out there. When we are walking around today, I was walking outside the convention center, so folks with NASA shirts on, so you see it in pop culture, you see it in merch. When you're driving at night, you're looking at the moon and how beautiful it is, and so space, again, is just everywhere in our everyday lives.
Yeah, and I love that space brings everyone together with all the big celestial moments. Just last week we had a partial lunar eclipse supermoon that everybody's really excited to see, and the big total solar eclipse that we had earlier in the year. So I just love that everybody can participate in space, and that's just my favorite thing. It just brings so many people together.
I think my favorite thing is being able to look up at the night sky and realize through a telescope how much more we can see, and just how there's the overall curiosity that people have, and even some of the reticence that people have of not being able to get a Hubble image, and then realizing you can do something very similar with your own backyard telescope. And I love being able to share that. So sharing the cosmos is what I like to do.
Great, I'm at the end of the line. All the answers have been taken. I was inspired as an amateur astronomer before I became a professional astronomer. The images, just seeing space, and as other people have said, I love the fact that it's for all of us. All you have to do to see space is look up, right? You can see the stars, the constellations, the moon. There's all kinds of cool stuff to see, and then we have all these amazing space telescopes that give us incredible images. So, yeah.
Thank you. So why should we share these discoveries? Anyone want to take that?
Yeah, I definitely can chime in from a NASA perspective. So in terms of sharing these discoveries, essentially for NASA, we're mandated to. There's something that's called the Space Act of 1958. And so that was established as a way and to, again, provide us with our guidance, our North Star at NASA, and that we should share our information with the widest audience possible. And on our digital platforms, it's just the latest part of that chapter of that Space Act agreement. And so we use platforms like Twitch to make sure that we're bringing content to audiences. So last week, as an example, I believe it was last week, we had a Twitch stream in advance of International Observe the Moon Night. Sorry, my days get mixed up. So I'm like, was it last week or 2 weeks ago? So sometimes time escapes me. But whatever the case, we partnered on a Twitch stream where we were saying, hey, there's an upcoming full moon. You can look up in the sky. Here are some tips for capturing content for your channels. And so we always try to use our digital platforms at NASA, our agency-owned platforms, all organic, no paid, no advertisement on their channels to share these discoveries with the public.
I'll chime in and say science should be accessible and available to everyone, and also to be able to be understood by people who don't have a formal education in it. I think that's part of the reason why science communication is so important, and sharing our passions about this really is contagious and hopefully inspires people to go into these fields. I think Twitch is the perfect place for this. Maybe I'm biased with my love for Twitch, but it's an interactive environment. As you all know, like, we can talk and chat and nerd out about our love for space together, and we can learn about things together and answer questions in real time. It's awesome.
Yeah, sure. So for me, I'm obviously super passionate about science and science education, and I think what better way to share that than space, right? It's a great, I know there's probably other science streamers in here who are like, no, my science is cooler, but science, space is amazing. We have all these amazing discoveries, and we can share that with chat, and like Moohoodles said, it's so interactive. I hope that I kind of inspire people to maybe think about careers in STEM and get more people thinking scientifically about stuff, and as much as I hope that I inspire chat, I know chat inspires me as well to like do better and learn more and become a better streamer. So that's why I like Twitch. Yeah.
Okay. So NASA was on the front page of Twitch. Can you tell us what happens in the streams of NASA? What do you do?
Okay. One, if you see me look at my phone, it's because I'm nervous, because I'm an introvert and I'm not used to this. So, but I actually want to ask everybody first, how many people in here actually knew that NASA had a Twitch channel?
Wow, I love this.
Okay. So part of our communication strategy is we want to reach new audiences. And the Twitch audience might be a little nerdy, might be a little techie. So y'all are just like the great audience for us to target. And that's why we want to be on places like the homepage, like where we can like catch like all like everybody here and bring them in. You guys are used to watching streams for hours and hours. I mean, we all are, right? We can just sit and watch, our favorite streamers. So we want to invite you in, join in and exploring space with us.
Speaking of that, I see you all got some nice emotes as well.
Ooh, yeah. So these emotes, we just got them recently. They're our follower emotes because, we don't have, you can't subscribe to us, but when you are in chat with us, you can participate. And one of our interns actually created these interns, and she now works at NASA. So, we wanted to make sure we had reactionary emotes, like when you pop in, you can wave hi, a little curiosity one where, you're curious about what's going on, and of course, like stars, and my personal favorite, Pluto love.
Aww.
We won't talk about Pluto, no.
Well,
So-
speaking a bit about some of the streams, if I'm not mistaken, is that the solar eclipse? Did any of you all see it? Anybody else? I went outside myself. Okay.
Yes, the total solar eclipse that happened in April of this year. And so these are just two examples of our intentional efforts to bring streaming to the Twitch audience. Unlike, some of the other platforms that we stream on, what we've noticed about our Twitch audience is that they're just so engaged for hours on end. And so we work on our end in the Office of Communications to provide an opportunity to bring you along the journey with us as we're telling these stories, giving you a front seat view. This will be your left, my right here, we have the Mars 2020 Perseverance landing on Mars. So essentially we sent this rover to Mars to explore the red planet, and attached to this rover actually was a technology demonstration, basically a little helicopter. And so we had the first powered flight on another world. And again, we had 400,000 people, again, peak live viewers watching us in real time to see where we're going to successfully land on Mars, and we did. And beyond just streaming these things to you on NASA's Twitch channel, we make sure that we have subject matter experts engaged. Jamie and I, we're not scientists, but we engage with those scientists to say, are you going to be available at this date, at this time, so that you can jump in the comments and so that you can reply to folks, because we love when you use the emotes, but it's our responsibility as well to make sure that this is a two-way conversation and that we're answering your questions. Similarly, We had the total solar eclipse in April. We had a broadcast that was probably about 4 hours long, where we went, again, the entire trajectory of the path of totality to show you what it looked like from all those different states from various telescopes, and also, of course, having some scientists available to answer questions about the eclipse and what you were seeing.
I love that that's a two-way street. That is pretty cool. All right, can you tell me a little bit about NASA Eyes? I'm not too familiar.
So I know NASA uses this on their stream, and it is one of my favorite educational tools on my stream. The GIF you're looking at right now is actually the Eyes on Exoplanets. Every little dot you see there is an exoplanet out there. That big yellow one is where Kepler looked, so all the cool Kepler exoplanets. And there's a whole bunch of other cool, like, real-time 3D web apps where you can see where, like, asteroids are. You can see where all of our space missions are, like the James Webb Space Telescope right now, and a whole bunch of really, like, live, real data going on. So you should totally check it out if anyone is interested.
Definitely give it a look. So tell me a little bit about this.
I mean, these are just pretty images because we all want like the eye candy from the telescopes, right? We just, we love the Tarantula Nebula and beautiful galaxies.
What about this one?
Okay.
And it's pretty.
This is my favorite slide because it's just so aesthetic. So we have the pillars of creation here seen on the left from the Hubble Space Telescope. In the center, we have the James Webb Space Telescope's NIRCam image. And on the right, we have the JWST NIRCam and MIRI composite with Chandra X-ray data over the top of it. So I just wanted to point out that Hubble is still doing stuff. There's other space telescopes, and we can learn so much from each like visible light spectrum. Those are all like different spectrums of light, and we can learn a whole bunch of different things about it. So space is cool. And look how pretty it is.
I know, right? I love it.
See, that's one thing that I love about this with James Webb. A lot of us became familiar with the image from Hubble of the pillars of creation. And now with JWST, we get like old targets are like brand new again. We get to uncover and see more details than we have in the past and learn even more because it's always a constant learning curve for what's out there and to get a better understanding of the cosmos. And there's no one telescope that's going to do it all. So we rely on so many satellites and telescopes out there to capture these images, and we get to experience them for the first time again. So I think it's awesome.
Speaking of education and learning, NASA Science helps everyday people. Can you tell me a little bit more about it? What do they do?
Sure. So at NASA, we have something we call spin-offs. And so this is an intentional campaign and effort for us to provide examples so that everyone is familiar with how NASA impacts everyday life. Jamie has an example that she wants to share with you that's very relevant to all of you Twitch streamers.
Yeah, so many of the technologies that we develop at NASA, like Brittany said, end up in your everyday lives, which includes materials in some of your gaming chairs as well. So that's a little bit of an older spin-off one, but you can look it up, and that's just a really cool fact I thought you all would like. So.
As well as NASA Science helping everyday people. Everyday people can also help NASA Science. If you didn't know, on the screen right now you can see a whole bunch of really awesome citizen science projects that you can get involved in. You can find some of the oldest galaxies in the universe. You can even help check out things with penguins. There's a whole bunch of amazing projects, as well as getting your hands on all of the GenoCam data. You can edit images yourself and check things out. It's really awesome. We can make a big difference.
So I do this a lot on stream. We talk about citizen science all the time. I love these projects. They're so cool. And what's really cool is that the human brain is still better at pattern recognition than computers. So we can still beat computers, which is awesome.
What I love is that sometimes they use like humans going through recognizing things to train the neural network. I almost said AI, and I was like, no, the machine learning algorithms and everything essentially, which is awesome. So very helpful.
That's cool.
Have any of you guys seen the Northern Lights? All right. Do you know that there's a synthesized project called Aurorasaurus that you actually, if you've seen it, you can actually submit your observations to that campaign along with everybody else who's seen it and just like show. I think there's a really cool one called Steve, and it's one of my favorites just because it's like an aurora named Steve that's been discovered through this program.
I love that. Speaking of the Northern Lights, if y'all were able to see them in May, I just wanted to point out that was really awesome and such a cool current event. I was able to stream that for I didn't stream the Northern Lights, but I streamed about it and had so many people from all over the world coming in and saying how it looked for them, or that they were able to see it in Texas or Mexico and everywhere. And I actually ended my stream early to go see them myself, and I was sad I couldn't do a real life stream, but I just sat there and like cried seeing them for the first time. So I hope everyone gets the opportunity in their life sometime to see it. And Astro, I know you have some stuff.
And it's trying to see the Northern Lights, depending on the even like levels of light pollution, could affect your viewing. So I tried streaming the Northern Lights to moderate effect, but what was really incredible and a very, I don't want to say life-changing, but very impactful moment was to see a total solar eclipse. And I had been planning and fretting and freaking out about it for months, years, I guess, and managed to get out to Quebec to stream the total solar eclipse. And it was just I was not prepared for it. Like, I was prepared technology-wise, but prepared for the experience. And if you have the opportunity to go travel to see a total solar eclipse, I cannot emphasize more, like, go and see a total solar eclipse, because to be able to share that with a bunch of people is absolutely incredible.
I watched your total solar eclipse stream with my family because we had cloud coverage, and I like literally cried because seeing you stream that on Twitch, I feel like was such a big deal, and also like goals. It was absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
And NASA's stream obviously had a whole bunch of coverage from different places. It was just, I thought it was so cool, and it was really one of those moments where space truly does unite humanity.
Yeah, it was amazing. I was in California, so we just had the partial. I followed the eclipse across the country on Twitch from people that I followed who were all streaming it, and I finished with AstroCanuck. It was a brilliant stream. Yeah, really good.
And I watched the solar eclipse from a little place called Wallops Island, Virginia, if anybody's heard of that. And we actually launched sounding rockets into the eclipse before, during, and after to study how the sudden drop in like light affects the ionosphere. So that was like a really cool project that I kind of helped communicate out to all of you.
So what events can we see on Twitch or IRL? Anything coming up?
Yes, I'm really excited for the Europa Clipper launch. If anyone knows me, you know I'm stoked. AstroCanuck and I are going to be able to stream it in person, which is going to be so cool. It'll be my first, thank you. It'll be my first in-person rocket launch, and then I can let you take over if you'd like.
Sure, most definitely. So next week, we actually will be sending humans to space, to the International Space Station. This is a part of our SpaceX and NASA Crew 9 mission. So that, of course, will be streamed on Twitch. We will have some astronaut co-hosts of that stream. So feel free to follow along, watch, and let us know if you have any questions that we can answer on air. And as was mentioned, we have our Europa Clipper launch. So we're sending a spacecraft to Jupiter to explore Jupiter's icy moon, Europa. And one of the things that I just want to plug really quickly, the ability to go behind the scenes at NASA. We have something that's called a NASA social program, where we invite creators to apply for credentials to go behind the scenes of a rocket launch. So in addition to seeing that in launch, that's like the culmination of it, but it's actually a 2 or 3 day event where we open our doors. You can go talk to subject matter experts. You can see some of our labs. You can see some of our facilities. It's really special. NASA started doing this in 2008. And when we started in 2008, it was called a tweet up. It was specific to Twitter, now known as X. But now, again, we invite creators, no matter which platforms you tend to use, so that you can, using your platform, share NASA news and information with your audiences and reach audiences we may not reach on our flagship NASA accounts.
And just to add to that, if you guys are interested, we have an account on X at NASA Social that you can follow, and we usually will post when we're having those events. That way you can apply for it if you're interested.
It's so exciting. Also, there might be a comet that you can see late in October, but we have to be in October essentially to know. Long story short. So just keep your eyes up on that. But there's always really awesome news and stuff happening in space and with NASA. So
Definitely keep an eye out.
Yeah.
So backyard astronomy, tell me about it.
So I started doing backyard astronomy back in 2017. I got my first telescope, and I started in England, among all places, it's notorious for clouds. So let's do a hobby that involves clear skies. And it turned out to be incredibly rewarding, and being able to share these images with people. And being in a town where there was a little less light pollution was beneficial, because I didn't have Like my telescope setup started out very, very modest. And it's grown over the years. You keep evolving, and there's always a lot of people coming into the chat that are asking, what's the best telescope? And there's no right answer for that. It's going to be the one you're going to use most often. What's going to be easiest to set up? What's going to use like the least amount of wires? And a lot of technology, the wires are reducing. And just being able to control my telescope from my office and share images of outer space, that's what I've always wanted to do. And because the first time I held up my phone to an eyepiece, took a picture of the moon, I was hooked. And I'm like, I want to show more people. I want to show more pictures like this to people. And just being able to do that from my own backyard. And again, showing, like, these are the images that I've taken. And just letting people know that you can get these images from your own backyard. It's going to vary on what type of equipment you're going to use, but you can experience outer space. And what I want, my goal on this is to share the cosmos, and a lot of people may not have the means to do this. And that's what I want to be able to do, is to share this with everybody and answer questions and help guide people along the way, whether it is for astrophotography or if you want to do visual, that's fine too. But it's been a very rewarding thing, and I'm glad to continue doing this.
That's cool. Well, about some games though, because a lot of people are gamers here. Are there some games that you stream? Are these your favorites? Tell me about them.
I mean, what more can we say? There's a bajillion space games out there. Like Mass Effect is one of my favorites. I also love Outer Wilds and Star Citizen. But one thing that I love to do on my stream, and I actually kind of started out doing this, was playing space-themed games just because I adore them, and bringing science communication into those. It's a really fun way to connect with people and learn a bit more. Also, Kerbal Space Program obviously is a great way to learn a bit more about rocket science. But yeah, I mean, there's so many good space games out there. I just kind of wanted to do a shout out for all of them, and yeah, there's also NASA has specific games, like the Roman Space Observer. On my stream, we just played one. It was a detective one. It was so good. Feel free to talk more on it. Yeah.
I actually don't know much about it. I just saw it on our NASA Universe channel, and it seems really fun. I actually need to play it myself. But I've played the 8-bit Roman Space Observer game a few times, and that's really fun because it's like you're basically like the Roman Space Telescope, and you're moving it across the screen, and you're trying to find exoplanets, and you're trying to find black holes and dark matter, and also every once in a while the James Webb Space Telescope will zoom by, and you get like 100 points if you catch it. So it's a really fun game.
Yeah, just to follow on from all that as well, I love the games. Outer Wilds, I think I've been playing it on and off for a year, and I'm not more than halfway. I don't know what it is. But anyway, getting chat involved in games and gaming, and we have a Minecraft server that we run on my channel, and we have the @Astro mod, so you can actually go to space in Minecraft. So there's all kinds of things that until you start digging into it, you don't even realize are out there, to engage with audiences.
Yeah, it's super cool. I think one thing I really love about space games as well is that we don't really have the ability physically to go up in space, but we can get really immersed in these video games and just kind of experience it in our own way. And I think that's something really special and really cool. And I hope everyone in this room has had that to some degree, just getting so into a game, being like, I feel like I'm in space right now.
And speaking of something else, gaming, Legos? We got Legos?
Oh, yeah.
Lego. I was unaware of the brick building community, and there was a Lego set that was the International Space Station, and I thought it was pretty cool. And so I kind of asked the chat, would you be interested in watching me build a Lego set? Thinking, I've never heard of this. Well, I've heard of Lego, but I've never heard of people building on Twitch. And managed to find a whole whack of builders on Twitch that we can expand and grow our communities, because there's not always time when we have clear skies. So when we have the time, let's build some space Lego. Let's talk about how we're incorporating this into the grand scheme. They have like a Milky Way set. We can talk about where we are, where's our place in our galaxy, and we build an observatory, talk about how the observatory is going to work. So just being able to combine like a childhood passion and move that into even like educational as well, and making that a fun thing to build it's relaxing as well. I find it very cathartic to build Lego on stream. So I will savor the builds. I'm not a slow builder, I just savor the builds.
So AstroCanuck and I have a bit of a contest on who's the slowest Lego builder. But so a couple of things. My International Space Station Lego was forcefully deorbited by my cat. It's in pieces. But the other thing about the Lego that's really cool with the space sets from like NASA is that as you go through the instructions, they actually have little facts about the different, like the shuttle or whatever it is, and that can be a really nice way to engage with chat as well.
All right, and I see we have space and earth science. Hear a little bit about it?
Maybe we got to take care of our pale blue dot.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, take it away.
Oh, yeah, so I one of my streams each week, we talk about earth science. I did work a little bit on earth science when I was later on in my career at NASA, and I like to talk about climate change and earth science. We look more at maybe like the engineering stuff behind it, like battery technology and wind turbines and water power and all these other things. So it's just a cool way of talking about something which is a kind of pressing issue that we have to deal with in kind of more of a maybe like a space-oriented way. I don't know.
Okay. And what about some final thoughts you want to share about space?
I just want to say that we're all passionate about space up here. Come hang out on our streams, learn and experience the wonders of the universe together with us. And we're always happy to answer questions. And also, like, shout out to all of the other science and technology streamers. There's so much amazing content outside of space on Twitch as well. And join us also if you want to stream science communication stuff too. It's always great to have the educational community grow.
And with that said, can we get, or do you have any more you want to add? Please,
Yes,
please.
Yes, I definitely want to encourage you all to come to the Science and Technology meetup tomorrow. So we plan to have some NASA swag. So if you want a NASA sticker or patch, yeah, there's an incentive to hanging out with us there.
Anything you want to add?
Just thanks to everybody for coming. It's amazing.
All right, well, thank you all so much. Can we get a round of applause first and foremost? All right. Thank you all. All right, so we're going to open up to Q&A. Just a few rules. We're all adults here. Number one, I want to make sure I communicated correctly. We are not scientists. We are communicators sharing this information. So please know that we're coming from that perspective. Now, rule number one, keep it short. We got about 10 more minutes left, so please, questions short and to the point. Two, please don't request anything personal from our speakers. Let's talk about space, the topic, and more. Also, three, one question. If we got enough time in queue, you can get back in. And, number four, we're all respectful. We're all adults. If we feel like the question's not appropriate, we can't answer it or choose not to, just respect and say, hey, we want to go to the next question, next person. Sounds good? So if you got questions to ask, please line up here and over here, and we'll get started. You can go first.
I'll also say if we can't match, or if we can't answer all of them, some of us will be outside too, and at the meetup tomorrow.
Hi everyone. First off, thank you so much for the panel. It was so interesting. So this is a bit random, but I promise I'm going somewhere. I'm actually a PhD candidate in galactic morphology. Would it be all right if I plugged a citizen science project that people can get involved with that's from the European Space Agency?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
We're all here.
Going back to that slide, I think community involvement is a great way to kind of do outreach in especially like science kind of content. There is a project called, I believe it's called Galaxy Zoo Euclid. The European Space Agency released a telescope called the Euclid Telescope, and essentially what they do is they have just everyday citizens take a short tutorial and learn how to do it, and they essentially look at pictures of galaxies and say, hey, what do you see in this image? And the reason why I'm plugging this is because, like y'all touched upon, astronomers actually use this data. So this is a way that we can get involved. And I know, a lot of us are gamers. We like completion. They are only 47% complete. So let's get it to 100%. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Your question here to the left.
Hi, yeah. Also, I'm a big fan of AstroCanuck. Just want to say that for our Canadian representation here. But, woo! My question is actually to kind of like a general question in this sense, but as a former science communicator myself in a past role, what do you find is the biggest challenge being a science communicator on Twitch?
That's a good question.
That is a really good question. I think sometimes for me, I feel really bad when I don't have all the answers. Like, I don't have a formal education in this, and I don't act like I'm an expert in it whatsoever. Like, my degree is actually in computer science, and I went straight into full-time streaming after. But I've been obsessed with astrobiology for over a decade and nerd out about it. I think just kind of knowing that it's okay to learn together and not know everything, and making sure you have the right resources to show people to. But that's something that I always feel bad about when I don't have an answer to something. I'm like, oh, this is hard.
Yeah, so I'll chime in from a NASA perspective. For that reason, we try to bring in our subject matter experts because the folks managing the platforms aren't the experts, right? And so one of the challenges associated with bringing in those subject matter experts, these folks with these brilliant minds, these wizards, is that sometimes there are challenges in getting them to break things down in a way that people understand in plain language, because they're used to talking their language with their peers. And so that's something that we have to educate them on and remind them on, of okay, how would you explain this to an 8-year-old? How would you tell your mother this? How would you tell your child this? And so that's something that we're constantly trying to educate our subject matter experts on, how to engage with our audiences in a way and bring space back down to Earth.
Yeah. There you go.
My mom calls me after several streams. What were you taking a picture of? Why does it look like that? So
I relate to that so much because I was streaming from, I wasn't streaming, but I was taking photos from Quebec with my family there. Yeah. And when I came back home to BC, I was editing it, and people were like, well, what's the experience like? And I'm like, well, I was answering a lot of questions from my mom the entire time. So.
And the experience, you kind of had to be there.
Yes.
And it's just this to kind of echo what everybody else has been saying, is that wanting to be able to have that answer, but also making and letting people know it's okay not to have the answer right off the bat. That we can say, let's circle back to that, and we get to learn alongside together. And that's maybe 2-3 streams down the line. Let's get in depth about that. Take a little bit of time to read up on it, and just keep growing the knowledge base.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your question here on the right.
Yes, go by Fifth Nail on Twitch. So my understanding is last year, a lot of discoveries for jwst were image related. So that's where we got a lot of really crazy, amazing images last year. This year, it's been about exoplanets. This is just what I've heard from media and such. For those who are communicating this, and maybe you just have a thought, or you have an idea, or what's coming up next, 2025, what do we expect from JWST that's going to be communicated as maybe new discoveries, or what's the focus? If you know, you don't know, I don't know.
I mean, okay, speaking of exoplanets, I'm like, do you want to get me started
Let's
on
go.
this?
Let's go. Let's go.
So let me stop you there. So this is something that I always tell folks, right? Okay, bringing space back down to Earth. For those of you who don't know what an exoplanet is, it's a planet around a planet. And so this is an instance where, again, if I were in a Twitch stream, we would try to, again, explain that to folks who may not know exactly what you're referring to.
Absolutely.
I'm always reiterating that exoplanets are planets orbiting other stars outside of the sun. But yeah, one cool thing we'll be getting from JWST and all of the wonderful scientists around the world working with its data is some atmospheric readings of exoplanets. If y'all have heard of the TRAPPIST-1 system, we're hoping to get more readings from that and just a whole bunch of other ones. So we may be finding more Earth-like exoplanets out there and seeing how the atmospheres are, which is really exciting.
I think it's worth saying that a lot of the science that's actually being done is spectroscopy behind the scenes, right? We get the pretty images, but that's not actually what the scientists are kind of looking at, which I think the images are cool, but the spectroscopy is amazing that you can do with JWST, and that's what will give us the atmospheres. And
Yeah, we need more cool backgrounds from our desktop.
Yeah,
so
100%. Well, and
that's
NASA's
just
really good
really
about,
my main question.
NASA is really good about making all those available as well. You can download all those from the images.nasa.gov.
Yeah, I think the discoveries are amazing. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you for
Question
asking
here
about
on the left.
exoplanets.
Yeah, hi.
Your turn.
My name's Andrew, and thank you so much for all of you for taking your time today. I know that one big question that everyone always has is how can I get involved? How can we do more? And I was just wondering, maybe for NASA folks, but for all of you, but for specifically the citizen science missions, what can you do, or what can NASA do to help bring in more people to be engaged with the citizen science missions, finding ridges on Mars, or validating cloud data and things like that. Maybe this is more of just soliciting or promoting ideas, but can you do more to get people involved in that?
Yes, we most definitely can on our end in NASA. For the citizen science projects that were mentioned at NASA, we have more than 30 of them. Right. And so for me, some of the conversations I'm having right now with our Science Mission Directorate is how we can use our digital platforms to educate our audiences about these. And so I will say that for Twitch in particular, I was actually talking to Twitch Comms earlier this morning about some ideas that I have. And so one of the pitches that I'm developing to send to our Science Mission Directorate is to have that regular cadence of Twitch streams, right? That appointment viewing. Yes. So you can look to say, add to your schedule, hey, on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, we're going to have, this particular type of programming. And so again, appreciate the idea, but yes, there's definitely room to grow and for us to lean more into educating audiences about those citizen science projects.
And also we have a month in April, which is Citizen Science Month, where we do a really big push for a lot of those projects on our social media platforms as well.
All right, and with time, we might have just this one last question, but I believe some people are going to be available afterwards if you have any more questions. So this will be the last one for now, and please catch some of them after.
I'll try to make it quick. Trappy Jenkins, thank you. So how do I go from guy who is just interested in science to science educator? Because right now I feel like I'm not really in an authoritative position to give people information, but I realize that everybody kind of started somewhere in that case.
I mean, that's a really good question, because I feel like that's me. And like, I definitely get
That's why I
imposter
asked you,
syndrome,
yeah.
'cause it's like, I don't have that formal education, and that, can be a struggle sometimes, as you know. But yeah, I mean, I think just go for it. Like, make sure you're not spreading misinformation, obviously. But I think if there's something you want to do and you're passionate about it, like for everyone in this room, like follow your passions and share that stuff, especially when it's educational. So I think, just read into things and be okay learning on stream and see, I guess, I don't know, like see what you're feeling. And if there's like a specific type of educational content that you want to go into, you can kind of figure out what kind of format sorry, I just did a panel on that earlier, but I was like going into that. But yeah, I think if it's something that you want to do, I would totally encourage you to do it and like follow your passions and yeah.
Be brave, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started with, I'd started with, when I started doing the imaging, because I wanted to be able to answer, and I looked toward like just regular textbooks from schools and just kind of grabbed those to start off with that foundational knowledge, and still going back to that, because I went back to university as a mature student, age-wise, not, and it was a really good thing to do, to kind of start back from the beginning and just kind of solidify those foundations. And if you can kind of start from there, even it's like astronomy for kids, that way you learn how to communicate to a younger audience as well. My nieces growing, they're very young. I'm trying to get them into astronomy as well, so they don't have money for drugs. And it's just one of those things, just to be able to get them excited about outer space, and being able to have telescopes that you can take around. They're nice and portable, and you can share images on a bunch of different devices all at once. So that's just the outreach of astronomy, to share with so many people all at once is a fantastic thing.
Also, shameless plug, we have a really cool website called nasa.gov and science.nasa.gov, where you can also learn a lot of really cool stuff.
Also, shout out to Nerduino, who I know actually reads books and stuff on your stream as well. Sorry, that sounds weird.
I can read, yeah, it's true.
But no, I think that's a great way to do science communication.
Yeah, 100%. I think shared learning. Just if you don't know something, then learn it with your community along at the same time, and obviously try and make sure you're learning it right, but like you said, not misinformation. But yeah, shared learning can be a really powerful tool. Yeah.
Well, speaking of streams and what do you do, before we close out, just to repeat for everybody here, what's your content? What do you do? Where can we find you? And of course, any resources you want to share from NASA as well, starting from the left to right this time. So Nerduino.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, so I'm Nerduino, Nerduino on Twitch. You can find me there, and on my Twitch profile, you can find my link tree. I do put out daily YouTube content. I put out a YouTube short every day with some space news. So check those out, and then just come and chat, say hi. I'd love to see you all.
So you can find me as AstroCanuck, and I will try to do as much live imaging as possible, which means that being in the Eastern time zone, and when we hit summertime, the nights will start much later. But imaging streams are going to pop up at any time. So that was the whole base of the content, was just to share live astronomy. Try to keep a regular schedule. Sunday mornings, we're building Lego and just vibing and having a good time on a Sunday. And then kind of catching up on how to do image processing, how I take up black and white images and turn them into a color image, and we get the ooh and ah. So
You can find me at NASA on Twitch. You actually, I might be one of the people modding during some of the streams coming up. So.
Same, NASA. So, tune into NASA's Twitch channel to see things like spacewalks, launches, conversations and Q&As with our subject matter experts and all the amazing science and discoveries that we're bringing to you every day, and making good use of your taxpayer dollars.
Yeah, and I'm Moohoodles. You can come see me afterwards for a card or whatever. But yeah, I do space astrobiology, science communication. If you're like, what is astrobiology? Long story short, search for life out there in the universe is like what I'm obsessed with. So potentially habitable exoplanets and watery moons in our solar system like Europa and Enceladus, I obsess over. But yeah, I also play video games like I spoke about and talk about conservation, programming, whatever ADHD ramblings I get off on as well. And yeah, find me on Twitch, everything, just Moohoodles. Thank you all.
Thank you all. Can we get a round of applause, please? Yet again, some of them may be here after to answer questions, so feel free to ask. And yet again, thank you all for coming. You have a good one.
If your question was, come up. Come up.